Developing a test-taking strategy begins long before you actually take the test. The first thing you'll need to do is find out as much about the test as you can before you go to take it. Ask your instructor whether that test will cover the facts, the details, the things you have to memorize, or whether the test will cover the concepts, the main ideas, the things you need to be able to explain. Those are different kinds of tests, and you need to study differently for them. You also want to know as soon as you can where the test will be, when the test will be, how long you will have to take the test, whether you'll sit in your regular seats or you'll be moved to a different location, whether class will continue after the test or once you're done you're free to go. All of those details you want to know before you get there so there are no surprises. Once you know everything that you can learn about the test, you're ready to study. You want to study for the kind of test you are going to take. Studying for the wrong kind of thing means you'll do badly on the test. You don't want to get there and not be able to answer the questions. You'll need to predict the sorts of questions this instructor will put on his or her test. If you can think up the test question in advance, then you can look up the answer in advance, and then you'll be ready for it when you see it on the test. Predicting a test question is the best way to do well on the test. Everybody knows you're supposed to get a good night's sleep the night before the test. What that means is you cannot stay up studying all night the night before a test. You'll need to study a little bit at a time over time. Study a little bit on a regular basis instead of all at once right before the test. Plan to eat right, plan to wear comfortable clothing, plan to bring all of your class materials with you on the day of the test. Some instructors ask you to hand things in before or after the test. You want to make sure you've brought everything that you would bring on a normal class day on a test day as well. Make sure you have something to write with. Make sure you have something to write on. If you have any good luck charms, feel free to bring those along as well. Give yourself extra time on test day. Plan to arrive early. Some students find that if they arrive at class early, they listen to other students worried about the test, and that makes them worry too. You don't have to go to class early. You should be on campus early. Be at class on time. Often, an instructor will make announcements before they hand out the test. If the instructor makes an announcement about the test, you want to hear that announcement. When you get the test, if there's anything that you're trying really hard to remember, write that information down immediately. As soon as you're allowed to write on the test, write those little memory cues, the things you're trying not to forget, down. Then you can forget them because they're still written there. You can then look at the test without trying to remember one thing and answer a different question. Once you have the test and you've done a memory dump if you needed to, look over the entire test. Read all of the instructions in addition to any instructional comments that your teacher may have given you. Look at every instruction on the test. How long is this test going to take you? How many different sections does it have? How much is each section worth? Are these the sorts of questions that you're prepared for? Give yourself a general overview of the whole test so that you can plan how to use your time. The number of points or the percentage each question is worth is some guide as to what kind of answer the instructor is looking for. Once you've looked over the whole test, go back and answer the easy questions first. The easy questions are the ones you know. For some people, true-false is easy. For some people, multiple choice is easy. For some people, essay is easy. Whichever questions you know the answers to, answer those first. Then you'll see how much time you have left for the hard questions. Sometimes the easy questions have information in them that reminds you of the answers of the hard questions. You don't have to do the questions in the order they are presented. Do them in the order that makes you get the best grade. If you have skipped questions, make sure that you go back and answer those questions before you're finished with the test. If you don't know the answer to a question, guess, but guess wisely. On an essay question, it's a good idea to restate part of the question in your answer. Give the shortest, quickest answer you can. Bluff if you don't know the real answer, because you might get partial credit. A partial credit answer is better than a no credit answer. If you leave the question blank, you missed it. When you have finished taking the test, don't rush to leave. Don't bolt out the door. You don't want to get back to your car or onto your next classroom and then remember the answers to some questions you weren't sure about. Give yourself a chance during the test to remember those answers. When you've finished the test, pause for a few seconds, then check back over the test. Make sure that you've actually answered all of the questions, that you didn't inadvertently skip anything. Make sure that you haven't made any careless mistakes, circling the wrong letter, for example. Make sure that you have not made the mistakes that you yourself tend to make. With essay questions, reread the question and make sure you actually answered it. Often, students just write about the topic without actually answering the questions. Once you've checked your test for careless mistakes, grade your test yourself. Go over the test and figure out how many questions you think you got right and how many questions you think you got wrong. Ask yourself why you are getting the grade you think you are getting. Before you leave the test, ask yourself what you did right and what you did wrong in preparing for this test. Before you leave the test, you want to understand what you should do for the next test. Each test your instructor gives will be very likely to be like the other tests your instructor has given. Your next test will probably look like this test. So whatever you did to prepare for this test correctly, you'd like to keep doing, and whatever you did incorrectly, you'd like to fix. Once you have finished working the test, and checked your work, and graded yourself, and made a plan for next time, double check and make sure you've put your name on the test, then turn it in, and then leave the test and let go of the test. Don't worry about that test for the next several days. You've done all that you can do, put it aside, move on, and do something else. Congratulate yourself for a job well done and an ordeal survived, and then think about something else. Once again, the main parts of a test routine involve, first, figuring out as much as you can before the test. Second, studying for the test. Third, preparing yourself the morning of the test, being in the right frame of mind, being ready to take the test. Then, once you arrive at the test on time, go over the instructions, go over the whole test and plan your approach to the test. Work the easy problems first, go back over the test and work the harder problems. Then, when you've finished, check your work. Look for careless mistakes, look for any errors that you know you tend to make. Then lastly, grade yourself. Ask yourself why you did how you did. Then lastly, congratulate yourself on a job well done and move on to something else.